Hello everyone and welcome to my Yunli guide. In this video we're gonna go over her kit, traces and stat Prio, what Lightcone to use on her, relics and planner sets, Eidolons and her teammates. Yunli is a 5-star physical destruction unit with an interesting playstyle. Although she is oftentimes compared to Clara due to the huge amount of similarities, Yunli has some unique points about her kit that make her very fun to play, so I recommend you to try her out. Let's start with her kit. Her basic attack is the usual single target attack, so we can skip that. Her skill deals some damage and heals her by quite a good amount. Unfortunately, since enemies can have AoE abilities, you will need a sustain unit for your other characters that need their healing. Yunli's talent is very similar to Clara's talent. Whenever she gets hit by an enemy, she will launch a counter attack that deals good damage to the enemy. It is a blast attack, so she will always have an AoE counter attack, unlike Clara. Additionally, when Yunli gets attacked, she will generate 15 energy for herself, which is very important for her frequent ultimate usages. Her ultimate will make her enter the parry state and she taunts all enemies. This parry state is only active until the end of the next ally's or enemy's turn. Her counter crit damage is increased by up to 100%. When enemies hit her during this parry state, she will use the counter Intuit Cull, dealing tons of damage to enemies hit, as well as 6 instances of single target damage randomly split between the 3 targets. If no counter is triggered, she will use the counter Intuit Slash. This will also deal a lot of damage, but without the 6 instances of single target damage, so it's basically a weaker version of Intuit Cull. In order to gain the most damage dealing ability, Intuit Cull, you have to activate the ultimate just before the enemy is about to attack. The ultimate costs 120 energy and Yunli has an energy pool of 240, which means you can store up to 2 ultimates. Yunli's technique is very simple. When the battle starts, she will immediately launch the strong version of the ultimate counter, Intuit Cull, on a random enemy. This Intuit Cull has an 80% damage increase, which is very nice, but unfortunately you don't have the extra 100% crit damage from entering the parry state. It's a nice technique nevertheless. Her Ascension 2 is like a small safety net if you don't time the ultimate correctly. After each use of Intuit Slash, the next Intuit Slash will be Intuit Cull, so the stronger version. You can also buffer multiple Intuit Culls into a small rotation by using her A2. For example, after you use Intuit Slash just before your next ally attacks, your next Intuit Slash will be Intuit Cull automatically. You now buffered up your Intuit Cull. You can then ult on Yunli before your teammate acts, resulting in 1 Intuit Cull thanks to the buffer beforehand, and just before the enemy is about to attack, you use Yunli's ultimate again, resulting into another Intuit Cull. With this mechanic, you attack the enemy with 2 Intuit Culls, even though they only attacked you once. Yunli's A4 is very simple if you compare it to this buffering tech with A2. While you're in your parry state, you resist all crowd control debuffs and damage is reduced by 20%. This Ascension passive is only useful if the enemy is about to attack, since the parry state only lasts until your next allies or enemies move. Her Ascension 6 basically gives her a permanent 30% attack buff. Every time you use your talent counter or ultimate counter, you gain 30% attack for 1 turn, so you won't have to worry about that at all. Let's talk about her trace and stat Prio now. If you're not very confident about your ult timing skills, you can prioritize her A2 first. A6 is a great attack buff and A4 is also quite good, so I recommend going for A6 into A4 into A2, but in the end you obviously want all the Ascension passives unlocked. For stat Prio, you luckily gain a lot of crit damage for free, so I recommend crit rate over crit damage over attack percent. Your relic stats should look like this: crit rate on body, attack percent on feet and link rope, and physical damage on the orb. Sometimes you can also go for energy regeneration rate on your link rope, if you have a lot of free attack already, for example with Robin. But since you gain 15 energy for free each counter, going for attack link rope oftentimes is the most solid choice. Her signature relic set is wind soaring, and I really recommend it over the other options. If you don't have a good wind soaring set, you can also go for Grand Duke, Pioneer Diver if you have 3 debuffs, 4-piece Quantum because you can basically build it on every damage dealer in the game, especially with additional defense shred, or 2-piece attack, physical damage or follow-up damage. For planner ornaments, Duran and Inert Sasotto are the most recommendable ones, and with only little difference in damage you should just equip the one with the best substats. If you don't have a good Duran or Inert, you can also go for any attack planner ornament set, but I really recommend to upgrade to Duran or Inert as soon as possible. For Lightcones, obviously her signature Lightcone Dance at Sunset is by far the best choice, greatly increasing the chance to get attacked as well as increasing crit damage and follow-up attack damage. You lose a bit of its aggro value mechanic if you have links in your party, but it's still a great option. Her other options are Blades, Imbibitor Lunace, Clara's and Jingliu's Lightcone, They're all great stat sticks for Yunli, but there are also more free to play options for her. On the Fall of an Eon is generally a really great 5-star Lightcone that you can get for free, and it's also great for Yunli, granting her tons of attack percent. The moles welcome you, Under the Blue Sky and Nowhere to Run are good too if you have them. Before I talk about her Eidolons, I want to emphasize that Yunli is great without her Eidolons too, and you don't need to spend more on her to clear all of the endgame content. With that said, her E1 grants her ult counters 20% more damage, and the strong ult counter Intuit Cull gets 3 more instances of single target damage. E2 allows Yunli to ignore 20% of the target's defense for every counter. E3 simply adds 2 levels to the ultimate, which is a nice damage boost, and 1 level to the basic attack, which doesn't matter at all. E4 grants Yunli 50% effect rest for 1 turn after an ult counter, which doesn't really matter that much. E5 only grants her skill and talent 2 levels, which is also kinda mid, and E6 grants her ult counters 15% crit rate and 20% physical resistance pen. Additionally, the enemy doesn't need to attack Yunli when she is in her parry state. When the enemy uses any ability on anyone, Yunli will launch Intuit Cull. I would prefer to go for her signature Lightcone first, since it's stronger than her Eidolons. Let's talk about buffing units for your teams first. Her best options are Robin, Sparkle and Ruan Mei for 5 stars and Ting Yun and Pella for 4 stars. I recommend Robin the most since you get tons of attack and some nice damage bonuses. Ruan Mei also has great buffs, but she prolongs the time that the enemy is weakness broken, which leads to less possible counters for Yunli. Sparkle is a great buffer. Her crit damage buff is still valuable but a bit less, since Yunli gets a lot of crit damage for free. Of course, all of those supports are still great and playable with Yunli. Ting Yun grants very nice buffs to Yunli as well, by giving her a lot of energy, which she really appreciates, because Yunli wants to ult a lot. Pela is just a really great unit in about any team, with tons of defense shred and skill point positivity. Now for sustain units. Her best sustainers are by far Huohuo and Lynx. Lynx grants Yunli more aggro value and Huohuo gives a lot of energy to Yunli, as well as a good attack buff and cleansing. If you want Yunli to get a lot of energy, you can also equip your abundance unit with Quid Pro Quo. Yunli has an energy pool of 240 and needs 120 energy to ult, so basically 50%. This synergizes greatly with this Lightcone, basically always giving Yunli extra energy if no other ally is below 50% energy. Other great sustainers are Fu Xuan and Aventurine. Fu Xuan grants a good crit rate and HP buff, making your team extremely tanky with Yunli and Fu Xuan together. Aventurine is a bit less synergistic since he wants to be hit as well, but obviously it would be better if Yunli is hit. You can also go for a double damage dealer playstyle with characters that are not too selfish. Great damage dealers for that would be Jade, Topaz and the new March 7th. They don't really need too much setup by specific supporters to enhance their own damage. And that's it for this guide. I hope you all enjoyed it and bye!